Hi, I'm James the Light Guy, and today we're going to do a detailed, in-depth review of the Alla 9005 HB3 LED bulb. In the box, we get some cable ties and replacement O-rings, as well as some basic specifications about the bulbs, installation instructions, and some troubleshooting if you run into any issues. We also get the pair of bulbs. These are in the 9005 bulb type, giving us a standard 9005 base and plug. The plug is fairly rigid, plastic, with very limited strain relief on the cable. You can see we just have a very soft rubber cable here. Actually, I wouldn't even say it's rubber, it's more of a soft plastic with limited strain relief to the LED driver box. This is just a power adapter to transfer the 12 volt power or 14.4 volt power while the engine's running down to what the chips and fan need to use. It is not a CAN bus system, so if you have a European car or a newer car that tries to give you a light out warning when there is limited current draw by the circuit, this will not fix that. You may need an additional CAN bus decoder. However, one plus side, these bulbs do have a separatable, if I can, there we go, power connector here that is keyed with an O-ring. That makes installation a little bit easier in some tight vehicles. Moving down to the base of the bulb, we have a very low profile extruded aluminum heatsink with quite a bit of surface area for all these fins, and I mean it is very low profile for tight engine compartments and other areas. At the back we have a high-speed cooling fan which should move a lot of air. There is no guard on the back here, so be sure that if you install this in your vehicle that nothing is up against that preventing the fan from moving and allowing the bulb to overheat. The 9005 base plate adapter is machined as well and anodized. It is retained with a very small Allen key there. Installation is straightforward as you'd expect from the instructions. You simply put the bulb in and twist to lock it in place. It did not come with an Allen key for that bolt to adjust the alignment, but when installed, you want the chips in the 3 and 9 o'clock positions as opposed to 12 and 6. This would give you an optimal beam pattern. If you install it in your vehicle and it's not at that pattern, you'd want to loosen this, figure out where to realign it, and then tighten it again. I do wish that it came with that Allen key tool. Moving up, the main body of the lamp is again that extruded aluminum, but has been machined into a clamshell where almost all of it is one piece with just this side as an insert retained with a screw up at the top there. The PCB itself has a copper substrate to help with thermal transfer down to the heatsink at the bottom, and we have two sets of CSP chips on opposite sides. These are pretty decent chips. We've seen them in many other LEDs in the past. So without further ado, let's hook it up to the power supply and see what it looks like. All right, I have one of these bulbs hooked up to our power supply here, and we're running 14.4 volts operating voltage. You can see our current is just under 1.8 amps, which puts these just shy of 26 watts per bulb. And they are very impressive on the sides with the chips. However, as you can clearly see, we do have a significant shadow cast at the top and sides. Let's grab our light meter box and see how it fares. As with all our tests, we're going to start with the shadow facing the sensor and then rotate it 90 degrees to its brightest point and see what our minimum and maximum brightnesses are. So we're using the times 10 function on the meter. Our minimum appears to be about 380 lux, and turning it up to brightest, we are just over 1200. That's a pretty wide range there, but depending on your housing, especially in a reflector housing, that would more than compensate for the dark spot. In projector housings, it may cast a very dark shadow. So your mileage may vary on the functionality of this bulb. Let's shut this down and I'll be right back. All right, during our testing, the bulb didn't even really get warm to the touch. I mean, warm. It did get warm, but not hot enough that I would consider that the chips are in any sort of danger of reduced longevity from heat buildup. So the cooling fan and heat sinking are pretty, well, more than adequate for this application. For the price, these were around, I believe, $30 I saw on Amazon, perhaps up to $40 now. I'll put a link to the listing below if they're still available. Side note, the power controller box also gets a little warm, not as hot as some of the other bulbs we've looked at in the past, but it is something that I would keep an eye out for. So would I recommend these bulbs? Both yes and no. Depending on your application, they may be amazing, or they could cast some dark shadows on the road ahead of you. Depending on the vendor, you may be able to get them, try them out, and if they are not adequate, get a return and refund, but some vendors are not so pleasant to work with. In any case, that's all I have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it and found it informative. If you did, give me that thumbs up and share the video with your friends. If you haven't done so already, consider subscribing to the channel and follow me on Instagram and Facebook for more about lights and other things going on in my life. If you really want to support the channel, consider sponsoring us on Patreon at patreon.com/JamesTheLightGuy. Until next time, I'm James the Light Guy.